Wrap this up with this one game or to wait for this advantageous half that's coming up?
Yeah, the ideal thing would have been that we'd already wrapped it up with our last two games. And obviously, I said in interviews before, it's a very difficult period for us at the moment because we're trying to get the players to just be together first and foremost, on and off the field, and also we've got to try and navigate these last few games in a positive frame of mind and play without fear, play without pressure. It's a very difficult thing to do when you find yourself at the wrong end of the table, and any team will tell you that. But I've said before in the media that I've got a group of players who are so experienced, who haven't found themselves in a position like this before, so it's very difficult to understand why. But we have to keep going, and so it was not possible in our last two games, even though you could very easily say we came up against number 2 and 3 in the league table, and I thought we pushed them all the way in that particular game, in those games. When I look at chances created in those two games, I think everybody will agree that we could very easily have won both those games. But we can't harp on about that. We've got our next one to come against Richards Bay, and we need to set up the team to go and win that one. No more excuses, no more but ifs, that type of thing. We have to go and win it, and that's not putting pressure on the players. That's just helping them to understand the magnitude of where we are and what we need to do. They've responded nicely this last week, particularly after the loss against Pirates. The togetherness, the training has been really good, been really positive, and I think we just got to go iron out one or two more things, and we'll be ready for the game.
Finding yourself in this situation for the first time, coach, even though you were an assistant before, you've been doing very well as a team, and now you are a head coach, you are in that situation. How do you get to keep the calmness in this situation?
To keep the calm?
Yeah.
With a little bit of difficulty, but also it is a situation that the players understand where we are and they understand what it takes. So that's my job half done, if you like. They know that we've got to get ourselves out of this. But for me, I think the job's been pretty easy. The training's been sort of laid back, if you like. There's not a lot of energy that we need around the training ground when you look at the fact that we've only got a couple more games to go in the season. The players have spent the whole season knowing what it takes, knowing what to do. That the intensity is high, and so it's not just like we're starting the season. And I think that for me is an easy sort of thing to keep going, if you like. What we need to do now, I think our biggest test going into this game is to put every single little component that we've been working on in the training ground together. And if we do that, I think we will be more than okay in this particular game. So the challenge for me going to the game is to find the right combination of players who I feel will get the job done on the day. And as much as every single one of these players have been putting up their hands and saying, "Coach, put me in, I'm ready to do the job for you," I need to on the day figure out, in terms of the way we want to play against Richards Bay, who are going to be my best starting 11. And the next day or two will definitely tell that.
You're having a nice headache there because players are raising their hands to say, "Put me in, I'm going to make something great out of that."
Yeah, any coach will tell you it's a nice headache to have. And even though in the end you're going to disappoint some players by having to leave them out, not because they're bad players, but because you think that another way will be the answer that we need for the game, for that day. It is definitely a nice headache to have. But what's made my job easier, every time I've selected a starting 11 and any one particular player hasn't been in that starting 11, their attitudes have been great. Their attitudes have been supportive. Their attitudes have said, "That's okay. if you need me through the game, coach, I'm ready. And you can put me on any time. But in the meantime, I'm supporting my teammates who are on the field of play. And that's been evident in all the games that I've been in charge of so far. And I think the players have been very unlucky not to get the desired results because of that attitude alone. But they'll get what they deserve if we put in what we need to do on this particular game on Saturday. And that's just it. The focus has to be completely on Saturday against Richards Bay. And the Arrows game will take care of itself. And that's up to us, and we get a free hit in that particular one.
Coach, this looks like the theme this season has been that you had to dig very hard as a team, dig down from the injuries that you've had. The guys have to work hard to come up, even with the results fluctuating, going up and down, and all of that. How testing has the season been?
Very, very testing. I think the season as a whole has been very testing. Because it's also been a wake-up call. We've gone through the season on pretty much an up and a down throughout the entire season, and then all of a sudden we get hit with the fact that we are fighting in the relegation zone, and so now all of a sudden it's hit home, and we've had to dig really, really deep. I've had to do a lot of restructuring of the team, a restructuring of the way we do things, and the way we want to play, and I've had to find a balance in terms of mixing all of those little components to try and put a winning squad of players together to keep us away from the danger zone, and that's where it's been really testing. But as I've said before, I'm lucky that I have a group of players that I have. A mix of experience and young players coming through, and I've got to say our young players have really, really stepped up to the plate. The way they've navigated their way into the team, the success that they've got off the field. Nerapu is one of them, just come back from a wonderful tournament at AFCON, where he's gained even more sort of experience. So now he comes back, and I'm hoping that he can impart that on the team as well if he's required to play in either of these two games. So that mix has been great for us, and the fact that I've had to instill a little bit more belief in ourselves, because I think if we're honest, I think we lost a little bit of belief along the way, and that for me has been a critical component for us. I feel like that's come back to an extent, and I feel like we can believe even more in ourselves, and we're going to have to if we are going to get this one across the line.
Having assessed Neo when he came back, is he available for selection?
Yeah, Neo comes straight in, injury-free, and he is available for selection, and so he's even given me a bigger headache now. Young Baliti at left back has been fantastic for us. He's combined well with Lila Kay on the left-hand side. But like I say, I'm going to have to look at what I need to do and who I need to use in these last two games. And if it means that Naya's got to step in and I disappoint Apiwe Baliti, so be it. But I know that Apiwe is a top professional, and he will understand the whole process. And that goes for every single player in the squad.
Is there anything that you are guarding against, Coach?
Yeah, so the one thing that, and I'm not saying this behind the players' backs, I'm saying this as a fact that the players do know it, because we analyze it, we debrief it. The one thing that we need to guard against is complacency and giving opposition teams moments in games. So for example, against Stellenbosch, we gave them 2 moments in the game and they hurt us. Orlando Pirates, we gave them 1 moment in the game and they hurt us. And that just comes from a little bit of a lapse in concentration, not that they are bad players. And the focus levels, and that's not something you can coach, that's something that's within. The focus levels have to be sky high for 90 plus minutes in this game on the weekend.
Coach, you are in a period where support from the top is highly needed more than
Sure.
ever. How has it been in this period, the support from the top?
Yeah, and the support from the top's being magnificent. I can never fault that. I can never question that. And that's not just now. It's been for season after season. You know, and we're a very private club. We sort of we keep the support very tight within our structures. We are not people who will go out there and brag about things like that, because we know what it takes. And so I can never fault. I can never complain about the support from the top. And what it does is it makes my job easier, because I know they've got our backs. And I know that all I've got to do is get this team to win games of football as best we can.